Hey everybody, this video is going to be a continuation of our place value series. And we've got some new stuff to cover today, but before we do, let's review what we've already talked about. We talked about what place value is. We talked about the difference between a number and a digit. We've talked about the importance of zero in math as both a digit, a placeholding digit, and as a factor in multiplication. We've also talked about taking a number, writing it in standard form, which of course is the normal way of writing it, stretching it out into expanded form, and then bringing it back down to standard. We've also talked about hundreds, tens, and ones in the place value columns. And speaking of that, remember I said that we were going to stop at hundreds at first, just until you got those other concepts I just said down pat, and then we're going to move on to the larger numbers later. Well, we're about to get to that time when we're going to the next level. But before we do, there's one more thing I want to show you about what we just talked about, what I just mentioned. All right? Now, I'm going to cover this one part up because that's the new part. Let's show the part I'm sure that looks familiar to you first. HTO, what does HTO stand for? I said it just a little while ago. Hundreds, tens, and ones, right? Ones from right to left. Ones, tens, hundreds. As you go further to the left, the number gets larger. Not only that, but if you look closely, as you go to the left each time, you're adding another zero. What do those zeros do? Remember what we said? What do those zeros do? Every time you add a zero to a number, it automatically multiplies that number by 10. That's the quick way to do it, right? That's the power of zero. Add a zero, you automatically multiply it by 10. That's why, if you look, you got 1. 1 times 10 is what? 10. 10 times 10 is what? 100, right? Speaking of that, I want to show you another way to represent those numbers other than on paper, like this even, okay? And I'm sure you've seen these before in your teacher's classrooms, in your classrooms. You may have seen pictures of them online in your math book. You may have even used them yourself in small groups. Maybe you have a set at home. That, of course, are the good old place value blocks, right? Place value blocks are 3D models of numbers that end with 0, multiples of 10, okay? For example, well, not all multiples of 10, like this one I have in my hand right here. This tiny cube right here represents a 1, right? It's a 1. The smallest, most basic number, 1. Here you go. The next column is tens. Now remember, as we go to the left, we're getting larger. We're multiplying by 10. So it's like someone took 10 of these little cubes, glued them together to make a stick like this. There's 10 of those little cubes in here. This represents a 10, right? Okay. Now imagine someone taking 10 of these, gluing them together. What are you going to get? Well, you're going to get 100, right? What's the 100 going to look like? Well, here you go. Now I know it's a different color. Let's pretend we painted it, okay? But it's like I took this 10 stick, got 10 of them, glued them together, and made this, right? There are 10 tens, 10 sticks in this 100 square. So once again, a 1 cube, 10 of these 1 cubes make 1 10 stick. 10 of these 10 sticks make a 100 square, right? And there you go from there. Now, we're about to reveal the next level of number. What do you think it's going to be? Well, first of all, what do you think it's going to look like? You got a 1 with no zeros. You got a 10 with 1 0. You got a 100 with 2 zeros. So naturally, the next number is going to have what? 3 zeros, right? Yes, and that is the 1,000. And you could see I abbreviated it with a TH. Why? Why did I have a TH? Because 10 already begins with T. I don't want to confuse you. And here's your number 1,000 with 3 zeros. I'm even going to write the number 1,000 or the word 1,000 under here so you could see it. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you something else with this in a minute. But before I do, I want you to notice the way I wrote the number 1,000. I don't know if you could see or not, but not only did I put a 1 with 3 zeros, I put something right after the 1. Technically, I'm actually going to rewrite it so you can see it better. There we go. You see this little thing right here between the 1 and the 0? You may have seen it when you read sentences. It's called a comma, right? Just like in reading, a comma's job is to separate things. Well, in this case, the comma is separating this group from the next group, okay? Let me show you what a real number was. I'm going to put digits, one digit. Remember, not numbers, they're called digits. I'm going to put one digit in each column to show you what I'm talking about. All right? Now, of course, the normal way of writing this number without the lines and all would be that, correct? Now, I want to show you why there's a comma where it is, okay? When you read this number, this comma is going to tell you to say the word 1,000. Let me show you what I mean. The comma will not only do that, but it's also going to separate the two parts of the number so you could say it easier, okay? It separates the sections. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm covering this. Now, this is a 5, but remember, it's really not a 5. It's a 5,000, correct? It's a 5,000. Now, when I read the number and I see the 5, immediately after the 5, I'm going to see the comma, right? That comma is going to make me say, or remind me to say, the word 1,000. So I'm saying 5,000, okay? Now, I want you to look at what's after the comma. You're going to read what's after the comma like you would normally read it if it was by itself, if there was no 1,000 there. And what would it be? 326, right? So once again, 5, remember comma saying 1,000, 5,000, 326. And here it is in the normal standard form, 5,326. Okay? So that comma is telling you to say the word 1,000 as you read it, and it's also separating the sections of the number. Okay? Now, without confusing you, hopefully, this section of the number is the 1 section. Why? Because it's named after the most right-sided column, or most right-handed column. In this case, the ones. The ones are on the far right, so this is called the ones group. It's also called a period. The ones period, or the ones section, right? Now this, once you get past that comma, this is called the 1,000s section. The 1,000 section, or the 1,000 section. But for now, let's just call it the 1,000 section, because it's still all in the thousands, okay? So, and there's a reason why I'm bringing this up. So this comma separates the 1,000 section from the 1 section. And it also helps you read the number, 5,326, okay? I'm going to write another number down. I'm going to keep the columns for now, and we'll do one without the training wheels. First, let's try this. All right, here's the new number. Remember, you're saying, and I'm going to write it down here as well. You're saying everything left to right, and the comma is going to tell you where to break it up. 9 what? 1,000. That's telling me to say 1,000. 642. 9,642. Remember, I say everything to the left of the comma first. 9,642. And the comma reminds me to say 1,000. Okay? And we could always pause this. Now, I'm going to write one without the columns. Here we go. Now, how are we going to say this? Remember, this separates the 1 section from the 1,000 section, or 1,000 section. 3,758. 3,758. Okay? And by the way, you'll also notice we did talk about it, standard and expanded form. The way we read numbers would naturally be called the word form. So the words, the way you write it in words, that's the word form. So it's 3,758. Okay? And you can make up your own and practice those as well. Now, there's something else I want to show you. I want to go back to this. Remember? H, T, O, right? Hundreds, tens, and ones. There's a reason I'm bringing this up. Remember I said before, I think I said it before, this is the pattern you're going to have to remember for every number. I don't care how big the number is. Okay? Even when you get past the thousands, the hundreds, tens, and one pattern never changes. Let me show you what I mean. You've got a number. From right to left, it's ones, tens, and hundreds, right? Then we had that comma. The pattern, the letters repeat. Again, what's the only difference? This is the 1 section. What section was this again? This is the 1,000 section. So my question to you is, what would these place values actually be called? The columns. Well, of course, this is ones, tens, and hundreds. Those stay the same no matter what. But let's look over here. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So the hundreds, tens, and ones stay the same. We're just in a different section now. 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. And the next group and the group after that, the ones, tens, and hundreds stay the same. You just put the number, the name of the section, or the next level after it. That's all. But the HTO never changes. And let me explain. Let me show you what I mean. Let's use our imagination a little bit, okay? I'm going to move this because, there we go. Sorry about that. Now, here's a 1, right? Pretty basic. Here's your 10. What comes after 10? The 100, right? What comes after the 100? The 1,000, right? Now, this is where you got to use your imagination. Pretend that you took this cube and you put it in a shrinking machine, right? You put it in a shrinking machine for about a minute, and it comes out to be this small. So we're pretending that this cube, remember this is a cube too, it's a lot smaller. This cube is now the size of this, right? And we painted it. We painted it a different color. What was this cube again? 1,000, right? You shrunk it down. It's still 1,000. We just shrunk it down because we don't want to use blocks much bigger than this. It gets really awkward. So now this is a 1,000. So if this is a 1,000, what would this be now? Be a 10,000, right? 10,000. If this is a 10,000, what would this be? 100,000. Remember, these are little thousands now. See how the HTO stays the same? Or OTH, depending on which way you want to go. Reviewing again. This is a 1. This is a 10. This is 100. This is 1,000. Take this 1,000. It's big enough. Put it in the shrinking machine. Paint it. Here's the thousands cube. This is a 1,000. So now what's this? Yep, 10,000. And what's this? 100,000, right? This is now 100,000. Now, one more thing I want to do. I know we're running a little long. I'm going to show you how to say a number all the way up to the hundred thousands place. Okay? I'm going to do the HTO, put a comma there. Now remember, This is your thousands group. This is your ones group. Okay? Let's do a number. I'm just bringing the comma down. You know what I mean? Okay. Now, how are we going to say this number? Remember, the comma separates how to say it. It makes it easier for you. It breaks it down for you. You know, like when you're reading a word, sometimes you got to cover one part of it to read the first part, then you read the other part. You break it up. Same thing here. Start on the left. What's that number before the comma? 145. What's the comma make us say? 1,000. Now say everything to the right. 689. Right? 145,689. Okay? You get the idea? And you could, like I said, make up your own. You could go as far as all the way to 100,000. You can make them smaller. Just practice saying the words. Just remember, the comma means 1,000. Now, I will tell you this. I don't want to get into it right now. But every 3 digits that you go to the left, you're going to put another comma. So naturally, there would be another comma here for the next group, which would be the what? Anybody know? The millions group. And the HTO stays the same. 1 million, 10 million, 100 million. Next group. And the next group after that. Every 3 digits, you get a comma to the left. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. 1, 2, 3, comma. Like that, okay? But I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. I want to stick to the thousands right now. Remember, the comma separates the ones group from the thousands group, and you put it between the hundreds digit and the thousands digit, okay? And when you read the number, the comma makes you say 1,000 in this case, okay? The next comma would make you say million, for example, and so on and so forth. So I hope you found that helpful. You can make up your own examples too as well. Before I do end this video, I want to say that I'm sure a lot of you are aware that we're in the middle of the Summer Olympics right now. It's a very historic time. We've had a very historic Olympic season. And just the other day, speaking of, and it does tie in with what we're doing, speaking of thousands, I read that the United States Summer Olympic team historically, just recently, the other day, I think, got their 1,000th gold medal. 1,000 gold medals. Yeah. Imagine 1,000 of these little things representing a medal. Gold, not all silver, gold, and bronze combined. Just gold, 1,000. Now, granted, we've been in the Olympics for a while, but that's still pretty impressive. I mean, it's gold, right? That's pretty awesome. That's a great achievement. 1,000 gold medals. Remember, a 1, comma, 3 zeros after it. And speaking of the Olympics, by the way, congratulations to them. Speaking of the Olympics, there's one more thing I want to share with you. I came across this book. It's called Math at the Olympics. It not only talks about the history of the Olympics, it talks about how numbers are used in the Olympics. You'll even see in this picture, here's the runner. You see the time, you see the score, you see the distance. You see how numbers are always involved? Place value. If you go through the book, think about how numbers are used not only in Olympics, but in all sports. Scores of games, statistics, things like that. And it shows you how math is used throughout the Olympics. For example, here's a table right here. Gold medal athletes in men's 100-meter race. You got the year. There's math. You can see the year, the name of the runner, and then the time that they ran in seconds, right? I don't know if you can see, it's a little blurry, but you get the idea. Math is used all over the place in the Olympics and in all sports because that's how you keep track of their achievements. Just like when you take a test, you use math to keep track of your scores and your grades, right? So I recommend you get this book if you're into the Olympics. Of course, getting into math, very good way to show you how math is used, not just in school, but in something as, exciting as the Olympics, okay? But to get back to what we're saying, place value through the thousands, all the way up to 100,000s, you got your comma. We're going to elaborate more on this in the near future. I hope you found this video helpful. Like I said, continue to make examples for yourself, and I'll talk to you later. See ya.